Okay.
Yes, now today's edition or episode of Inside the News is a very special edition. We have in the studio with us today Mr. Conris Maynard, the deputy leader of the party, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, as well as the candidate for constituency number 3 for the upcoming general elections on Friday, August 5th, 2022. We also have in the studio Ms. Carla Astafan, and someone else is supposed to be joining shortly, but we will get this program going right now. Good morning to you, Conris. Good morning, Carla, and thank you so much for joining the panel today right here on Inside the News.
Pleasant good morning to you, Mr. Cornelius. It's Cornelius, right?
Cornelius, yes.
Yes. It's Devon is the first name?
Devon,
Mr.
yes.
Devon Cornelius, yes. So thank you very much for having me and having along with me some constituents of constituency number 3. As this morning, we're going to have what we are calling like a deep dive into the plans that I have for constituency number 3 as the next parliamentary representative and a minister of government. Mm-hmm. And so I will take the opportunity. First of all, a pleasant good morning to all who are listening at home and abroad, across St. Kitts and Nevis, across the region, across the diaspora. Welcome to the program, and it's always a privilege and a pleasure for me to be here. I'm excited to talk about the very realistic plans that I have for constituency number 3 once we are able to form a St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party government. And so what we're going to do today, we're going to go into a bit of detail of the plans that I have, and then I've invited some constituents from varying backgrounds to join the program and ask their questions. I'm not apprised to anything that they will ask. They are going to go through the policy and plans with me, and anything that may come to mind, they will ask, and we can provide some clarity on that. So that is basically what we're here to do today.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Carla?
Good morning.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Devon. Nice to be here at Win FM this morning. I'm happy that I took up the challenge when I was contacted to be a part of this program. I said, okay, I'll be there as a small business person operating in constituency 3. I think it is right that I'm here to talk on small business, on entrepreneurship, and of course other areas of interest, because this is really, we really need to know from our representatives, know and ensure that what they're promising is going to be what is delivered at the end of the day. So with that, I say hello to everyone listening, and I say a special hello to those folks who are at my studio currently. I had to leave them to come here, and they're busy in my studio working, so good morning to them, and thanks for understanding.
All right, thank you so much. So, Conris, should you be elected as the next member of parliament for constituency number 3 and ultimately become a minister of government? But, of course, firstly, before you can become a minister of government, you first have to be a member of parliament, right?
Correct.
So you're aiming for constituency number 3. What can the people of number 3 expect from Conris Maynard as their parliamentary representative?
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity to you and Win FM. In my hand, I have 2 things. I have a hard copy pamphlet of my manifesto for constituency number 3, and in my other hand, I have my cell phone. We have identified 9 pillars of development for constituency number 3. I'm going to read them for you. I'm going to read from the pamphlet first, and then I'll tell you what is happening on my cell phone. So number 1, community development, which is dealing largely with housing and infrastructure development, engineering a greener digital future. Number 3, small business, agriculture and entrepreneurship, focusing on creating jobs, and more jobs. Health, wellness, security, and caring for the elderly. Sports development, our youth and education, history and culture, family man, and accountability, transparency, and representation. Now, of those 9, I want to first point out number 2, engineering a greener digital future. With that said, we in the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, we don't just like to talk about plans, but put them in action wherever we can. And so for this campaign, and today officially, you will be able to receive a link to my very own Constituency Number 3 mobile app, which has the contents of the manifesto in the palm of your hands on your smart device. And as I click on it here, I don't know if this camera is on.
It is.
It is.
Yes.
So
you could put it closer and then the viewers may be able to see.
that's good.
Yes.
Right. So in my hand is my app for Constituency Number 3, and this has all of the content of my manifesto. So later today, tune in to my Facebook page. We're going to officially launch it and provide you with a link so that you can download the app on your phone and you can see all of the plans real time on your smart device. So perhaps I should leave the unveiling of everything for this afternoon, but I'll just go through what we have on the main page here. Obviously, the man for number 3, your home page, which has everything in general, a welcome from yours truly, my plans laid out in the 9 platforms that we have, and an opportunity for you to download the e-manifesto yourself. So if you wanted to print it or have it stored somewhere else, you can download it. And access to videos of my speeches, videos of things that are happening for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, all of that on an app in the palm of your hands. And so when we say that we are going to engineer, when I say I'm going to lead on engineering a greener digital future, we are serious about that. And so perhaps I will go on to platform number 3, because we specifically have here with us a small business owner in Constituency Number 3. And so I wanted to speak about some of those particular policies and plans. As I've walked around the constituency over the years, one thing that is very evident is that our people are very resourceful and very talented. And so many have small businesses and small business ideas, from those who do hair, from those who do nails and makeup, graphic artists, media professionals, those who sell clothes or food, those who bake, a bakery or do pastries, a plumber, electrician. Whatever it is, there are a plethora of small businesses that operate within the constituency. But in large part, many of them have to operate on their verandas, in the living room, maybe in the backyard, Carlo. Maybe in the yard of their parents or a significant other, because it is simply not feasible for them to rent a space in town or lease a space in town. And so I give a commitment that we will construct a small business mall complex to provide professional workspace for our entrepreneurs in the community. This will be like one of those open type malls that you would see maybe in the United States, where you can drive in and have parking space, and all along a long corridor you will have different storefronts. Those stores will then have a back room area where people can store their necessities and everything for their business, and there will be varying sizes of those storefronts. And we want to be able to cover all aspects of small businesses in the community, whether it's a laundry or whether on the backside you have a mechanic that is doing tire repair or simple mechanic work. So we want to be all-inclusive. And this is going to be a government project, and so it's going to be non-profit, and the lease amount is strictly to cover the maintenance of the building. And we will go further, that when this project is completed, to assist the businesses in settling in, the first 3 months of the lease will be free. So we believe that this will provide an excellent opportunity for small business owners to have a dedicated professional space that they can provide their professional services to their clients and to their customers. But added to that, apart from providing space, we want to be able to provide startup grants and or loans, concessions, training, and guidance for newly launched and expanding small businesses through the establishment of the National Business Incubator to guide the complete development of small businesses. This in particular is something that we've noticed. We've noticed that we have had assistance programs in the past, but if that is not tagged with training and guidance on how to manage the business, for the business aspect of things, we find that a lot of these small businesses end up in trouble, financial problems,
Right.
and then they have to close out.
Yeah.
And so what we are saying is we're going to establish a business incubator, which is going to reside in a singular ministry responsible for everything small business. So we're going to consolidate all of the business aspects of the government that deals with small businesses into one ministry. And they will have a business incubator. And that business incubator is responsible for new businesses coming on board, guiding them, giving advice or recommendations to persons who are interested in businesses. For instance, there are some businesses that we are in dire need of, and there are some businesses that may have an overpopulation of service providers. And so the business incubator must be able to do a complete economic analysis of the landscape of St. Kitts and Nevis to understand, well, okay, maybe we have enough persons who are making caps. In fact, the market is saturated and they are not able to make significant profits because it's so saturated. And maybe we don't have enough people making shirts. So perhaps you can consider diversifying in this way, and we will provide the support and assistance to do so. So the business incubator must be thought of to be all-inclusive. It must be a one-stop shop for businesses to thrive. We believe that if our small business sector is strengthened and supported, that will spell significant profit and significant benefit for our economy as a whole. This obviously will then lead to significant job creation and security for our workers in this country in terms of making a living. You had a question?
Yes, Conris, I'm really excited to hear what you have to say with regards to that. The question, and from my experience, having been in places like the craft market at Port Zante, and we've seen some of these sort of malls. So it's not a mall, but these marketplaces, and then I remember long ago we had all kind of things where people gathered, but it was to drive people to those areas. You ended up, people came off the streets, for instance, went into the markets, into these various type of malls, and then other people took up the street. And you found that the people who were in those spaces were not making the money that they needed to make to survive. So eventually they too pitted away. We saw what happened at all kind of things. We see what happens at the craft market. Little by little, people come back out onto the street. So, I mean, the mall, how would that small business mall attract people? What other things will be there to attract people to make them want to stay there? Like you go to the US and you want to mill around in the mall for the whole day. Is that the type of concept that you're looking at?
Right. So that's a very, very, very good question. First of all, I think what is going to be important is the aesthetic beauty of the edifice. It must be appealing for people to go there, and it must be comfortable. You must want to go there. We must remember that most of the services that will be offered here are services where people are now going all manner of places to get. So, for instance, I know a young lady who does hair in Buckley's. People have to find a way to get there and walk and find that place. And now we're going to make it more accessible, where they can have parking and a beautiful place to go. But you're right. What the vision is for this is to make it all-inclusive, as I said. And so you're going to have, we can have, for instance, in the movies, you have the little children arcade area.
Yeah.
That is a small business opportunity as well. So we want all of those things, and it must cover as wide as possible
a food court.
a food court,
Yeah.
a bakery, right? A laundry, and to keep activity in the vicinity.
Okay.
We when we get to government, we'll have to identify which of those lands in the commercial park, which is the Limekeel Commercial Park, is still available for something like this.
Okay.
Right? But the idea is that you're going to make it aesthetically pleasing, and you can have attractions. Also, you can have a bar, night life. We want to make it all inclusive, and so you're very right. That's a very good question.
The other question I have I don't want to take up all of the time asking questions, but I wanted to ask specifically, since you're on that topic, the National Business Incubator that you spoke about. A lot of us as small business people, yes, the grants, I have been, fortunate to take part in a program where I had training and was able to get a grant. You have the training, you're taught what to do. But a lot of times, especially as creatives, what you find, that time to do the accounting is still a challenge. That time to do the planning, to do the nitty-gritty stuff to make your business, you have to, by the time you do the work, then you still have to do that. I mean, I'm sure, and you've seen where sometimes people like accountants and marketing people and so on say, okay, they are focusing on small business. Would the incubator include that sort of element so that, they could say, well, we're going to visit you once a week or once a month to see where you are, to make sure you're in check, that you are doing the things that you ought to do, or maybe there's an app or something that could help us along to help. I've done 50 million accounting classes and how much training, and still that part is still the most challenging for me to sit myself down and do that.
And that is the part that has caused a lot of businesses to go under because they are not abreast of what their accounting situation is. And so what the business incubator must do is identify some of the niche services that must be attached to other small businesses. So for instance, you may have your pottery small business, but it may not be necessary for you to do your accounting. You just need to know that you have to do your accounting. And part of your business plan must know that every month you have to spend $626 minus this or what have you. I'm just calling a figure to be able to have your accounting in place. This is the advice that will be presented, and your service provider options must be presented to you as well.
Okay.
So for instance, based on your business size, so maybe you are just a small mom and pop's tray. We may have empowered, for instance, an accountant who is specifically focused on those types of small businesses. Whereas if your business is a bit more voluminous and you're selling more product, there may be a closed store or something, then you might be directed to or given a list of service providers who provide a range of services for you in that way.
Okay.
So the idea of the business incubator is to have a handle on making sure that everything that is needed for that small business to survive is presented in some form.
Okay.
Let me go for just diving off into agriculture, for instance. You may have farmers who everyone wants to plant tomato, and then the business incubator will know that the tomato market is saturated. And farmers tomatoes are spoiling on the farmers. Now, in fact, maybe I'm going a bit too deep when I talk about agriculture, because we're actually going to have something within the Ministry of Agriculture that's specifically responsible for that. But it is a general concept that whatever we identify are the shortcomings of the businesses, we want the business incubator, its purpose is to find a solution for that.
Okay.
Right? And by being able to direct people to the different niches. And for us to understand that as a growing economy, We have to learn to specialize and collaborate. We don't have to do everything ourselves. Oftentimes, for instance, businesses, contractors, and so on, there's a project that is being tendered. There's tenders that have been put out for a project. And you tender for every single thing instead of joining up with you. Maybe you're good in carpentry, someone else is good in masonry, someone else is good in electrics and plumbing, and you partner, you collaborate, and you tender such that you specialize on your different areas of expertise.
Okay, before we continue, we'll take a short break to give a shout out to our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll continue Inside the News. Let's take this break. We'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
People make the world go
Class, it's that time of year again to get everything you need for back to school. Go to the TDC Home and Building Depot in St. Kitts and City Drugstore Nevis Limited or shop tdcgroup.com. Shop and get deep discounts for all your school essentials. Backpacks, notebooks, pens, pencils, school bundles, computers, and more. While you're there, be sure to donate to Shop and Share to help the less fortunate and stay ahead of the grade. Oh, and don't forget, Flash Sale Fridays. Now that you know, class is dismissed. See you at the TDC Home and Building Depot and City Drugstore Nevis Limited. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News right here on Win FM 98.9. Thank you so much for joining the program today. For those of you who just joined, we have in the studio Mr. Conress Maynard, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party candidate for constituency number 3, as well as a constituent from number 3, Miss Carla Astafan. Today is a special edition of Inside the News. Today, Mr. Maynard is here with some constituent to discuss his plans, the manifesto that he has for the people of constituency number 3. Mr. Maynard?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Cornelius. And so we were talking about small business and entrepreneurship. And so I'm going to continue in that vein. One of the areas in my constituency is called the Boyd's West Farm Points area. And that is an area that has hundreds of land lots that were allocated. And over time, we're going to see the build out of those properties, especially with our plan to install the road infrastructure and the utility infrastructure upon returning to government. So you will have an explosion of persons living in that area. And so as well businesses. And so we want to provide a commercial park for the Boyd's West Farm Points Palmetto area to accommodate businesses seeking land space. Right now, some of those businesses like mechanics are operating right next to residential areas or car rentals and so on right next to residential areas. We want to be able to have a commercial area that businesses can be dedicated to. Thank you. Excuse me. All right. Now, in terms of agriculture, I'll jump in there. We're going to be encouraging and supporting backyard garden production and food cultivation throughout West Bastia. Another part of this document you will find where I speak about enacting legislation to assist the government in cleaning up abandoned properties and lots. While canvassing, a young man actually in the Boys West Farm Points area gave me a very good idea in collaboration with this idea of supporting backyard green garden production. He said those areas that have no houses on them as yet, while we're keeping them low, why not use those as extended community gardens? You plant short crops that only spend a few months, and the community can keep that very healthy and nice, and you can share water and those kind of things. And I thought that was a very good idea in expansion of this, as we encourage us to grow our own food. And so we're going to have a drive in constituency number 3 and across the country.
Yes.
And that is going to be produce local and eat local. So we're going to provide access to land, the capital investment that is necessary, concessions on equipment and training and guidance for farmers to support the reliable production of vegetables, fruits, tree crops, and livestock. We're going to produce local and eat local. So we want to incentivize the use of greenhouses, hydroponics, and new technologies in low water consumption for crop production. We want to produce local and eat local. We're going to teach a man how to fish by growing our blue economy, by support for our fishers,
Right.
including, as usual, grants where possible, loans, concessions on equipment, training, and guidance to bolster economic growth, improve the livelihoods of the persons in these sectors, and jobs, while preserving the health of our ocean and the nation. You see, we spend in excess of hundreds of millions of dollars on food that we can grow here, that we ship overseas. Grow and produce here, that we can grow and produce here. We are saying, as a new Labor administration, we are going to focus on improving our food security. And that will mean a significant investment into the agricultural sector. We have everything we need. We have the best soil, we have the best landscape, we have the land space. It just needs the infrastructural development in terms of proper fencing to deal with the pests, like the monkeys, irrigation, and to centralize how we organize the production of our crops and our vegetables across the entire country. And so we are going to invest significantly in this. I put it here in my constituency manifesto as well, because there are areas of my constituency where people have been doing small farming for quite some time. And in recent times, in fact, they have been pushed off of some of those lands for other reasons. And we're saying no. Either if they were not done so correctly, we will then provide the necessary land and the resources and the help sorry excuse me, to be able to facilitate their success in this particular field. If we get this right, we accomplish a couple of things. We increase our food security, so we do not have to depend on a ship every week. We keep significant amount of revenue in the country, and we empower our people who are the planters, the producers, the packagers, and so on. And it also helps in terms of our healthy living, because we now have total control of the, thank you, someone sent that, thank you very much. We have total control of the quality of the food that we produce. And so this is something we're going to be taking very seriously. Carla?
Okay, the question that pops up for me, I don't work in agriculture, but I observe. I go to the market every Saturday. I visit the agro strip. I see people around selling their food, and I wonder about what level of, it sometimes gets to me, I wonder what level of wastage is there. are people buying? And I know the people must be there because they are actually making a living. But I wonder if any study has been done as to the amount of losses they incur. The reason, through spoilage and so on. The reason I ask that is because we do a lot of eating out at fast food people. You have all the fast food places. How much work, I'm thinking about the work that needs to be done to encourage us to eat local, because when you're talking about us planting, I saw recently while I was on the train a whole field of watermelons got destroyed, wasted in a field. I've seen tomatoes waste in fields, so I'm sure sweet potatoes, all of those things, sometimes, the planters just leave them in the ground because there's not enough sales. So we have to encourage eating local. We have to encourage, we saw in Restaurant Week recently where they focused on the sweet potato. We've had focus on the breadfruit. We've had focus on the yam. We've had focus, I don't know if they've done the dasheen, green banana and so on. How do we cook those things to make it, to encourage us to eat healthier, to eat local, to utilize what we are growing here? I think that is something that has been missing. Recently, I went to the agricultural fair, and there were hot dogs and, other things selling. And I'm like, if we are talking about agriculture, all of the foods that are being sold here should have been locally grown food. I don't think, as much as people love hot dogs and fried chicken and all of those things, I think that at spaces like that, what should be encouraged is local dishes, local food, primarily. That's. So how are we going to encourage us going back to the pot, us going to eating that healthy local way?
Right, that's a very, very good question, and I welcome it. I want to maybe talk about two things in response. I remember when studying in Barbados, even on the campus where I was, when you go to the supermarkets and so on, it was always in your face something about buying Bajan. It clearly was a national campaign to persuade minds to support local. I think that in a large part has been missing. And marketing is everything. For instance, Flow or Digicel may have an exciting phone, but if they only have it in the store and they don't advertise, you may never know about it, although it might be the best phone for you. And so what is going to be required as part of that effort, and which we will invest in, is the advertisement and marketing campaign of produce local, eat local. So that is one aspect of it. Because when people, and that must be a dedicated project. It must not be something a fly of the night.
Yeah.
Additionally, what is going to be required is some central agency that is going to be responsible for the management of the production, sale, and use of crops across St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay.
We have tried it in different forms, Central Marketing Corporation, CIMACO, and so on. But we now need to bring it to an advanced place that can monitor what is happening with respect to the agricultural sector. I want to give an example again. You asked about wastage, and you were wondering, well, how much wastage is there? Excuse me. Now, I've heard complaints, for instance, of supermarkets and so on not taking local products and so on. But sometimes when you inquire, or hotels and businesses, restaurants, etc., they're saying that they're still buying overseas. And one of the things that I found when inquiring is this. This week, maybe Carla Astafan is producing tomatoes. They look lovely. They're nicely shaped. They have all of the appeal that they need to have, and you produce a nice bundle this week. The restaurant owner then calls you on Monday and for next batch, and you said, oh, well, I don't have any more. And so the business owner is saying, well, it's not that I do not want to buy from Carla, but it's that I'm not certain that she will have the product when I need it. So in order to have that certainty, I want to make sure that I order from a place that will guarantee my delivery.
Right.
And so what is going to have to happen in that central agency, however we set it up, whether it's a part of the department itself or it is separate, it is going to be responsible for making sure that what the market requires is being produced.
Okay.
And so that we can adequately manage how much is produced and how much is being used. I don't believe that there's a central organization of that at the moment. And that will help with the offtake of the product that is produced, and also encourage farmers to produce according to the market requirements. Right? And so that is what we are thinking about when it comes to revolutionizing our agricultural sector. There are some very, very good examples around the world of places that don't have near the capacity like us to produce good food. And we're going to be looking at some of those examples to put us at the forefront of agricultural production.
Okay. Thank you.
Guys, it is 11:46. We'll have to take a short break to give a shout out to the sponsors. When we come back, we'll keep the program going right up until 12 o'clock, all right?
Okay.
Let's take this break, and we will be right back.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go round.
Welcome back to Inside the News here on 1FM 98.9. It's 11:48. We'll wrap up at 12 for the headline news, and we'll come back thereafter to continue the program. Now, another constituent, I believe, from number 3 just joined the program. I'll just have her introduce herself, and then we'll keep the program going. Go ahead.
Oh, she's unable to hear. Sorry. He just said that you're here. Let's get some help.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe you can use that one, and let me use this.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
You can hear?
Oh.
Try this.
All right, so in the meantime, while we figure that out, can you hear me now? Okay, but go ahead, we can hear you.
My name is Tiffany Richards from Limekeel Village.
All right, so we have Tiffany Richards here from Limekeel Village. Are you hearing me?
No.
Okay, we'll just continue because we can hear you here on the other side as well as on the air. So as I said earlier, we're here with Conris Maynard from constituency number 3 and representatives, well, constituents that is from constituency number 3, and we're talking about the plans that Mr. Maynard has for constituency number 3. We're going to have to open the phone lines to take some calls. We have just about 10 minutes left, so we'll open the phone lines now and we will take some calls. The phone lines are open. Call us at 466-0989-762-0989 or 662-0989. 466-0989. The phone lines are open. We're taking your calls. In the meantime, we'll continue. And when the caller comes in, I'll indicate. Well, we have a first caller.
Okay.
Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hello.
Yes, caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning. Hi. Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Brown here.
Good
And
morning.
good morning to the listeners home and abroad. Mr. Maynard,
Yes, sir.
you just uttered that there is no place for people to, let's say, put the stuff and sell the stuff like what we had at the Simaco. Well, Mr. Maynard, I recently, in my final few months of retirement from the civil service.
Yes, I don't want you to misquote me, though. I was saying that there's no agency that coordinates the overall crop production in St. Kitts, such that all of the farmers know what they should be growing from what they're not growing, what is overpopulated in the market, and what is underserved in the market. If I said it differently, that is what I meant.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to say to you guys, you're going to like the idea.
Okay.
Upon my retirement, full retirement in a few months, I have decided to go into business. And here what the business is. I am putting in place a mini Simaco where the farmers would bring the stuff to me. And I will in turn sell them to the shops, the supermarkets, and things like that. And here, who I am targeting. I'm targeting the planters, the duck farmers, the rabbit farmers, the pig, sheep, and goat farmers, and the fishers. Well, what I have done, they have allocated a piece of land for me. I got a sketch out of it, and I have applied for some of that land. I am now waiting on sustainable development to say if they will sell me or finally allocated that land to me. That is what I want to do as a retired person. And here what else I'm going to be putting. I'm going to be putting a deli that takes bread and pastries from all the bakeries, in turn sell them back to the public. Also, I'm thinking about putting down a drinks depot where I will buy drinks from the brewery and from the Coca-Cola company and buy kids' drinks and those kind of things, in turn sell them back to the public. So I am involved in the whole country. Because, you know, on many programs, and you have listened to many programs, and you hear me talk about the farmers, I now have a chance to help the farmers. And that is my plan to think. I am not going to tell them like some farmer ministers, they're going to be millionaires. But I can tell farmers that weekly, monthly, you can have some money to feed your family and turn back over your business.
All right, we'll call it. Thank you so much for your contribution to the program, Mr. Maynard.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for that. That is obviously along the line of what we're discussing. I'm happy you're able to get a plug in for your business idea, and all the best on your retirement.
Mm-hmm. Before you go into your response, let's take one more call, all right?
Okay.
Caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Devon. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Good morning to Mr. Maynard and Carla. How is everybody?
Morning.
Carla, Tata gone.
And I'm there.
Yes, I'm calling as a true villager. Born and raised on Millionaire Street. So even though I don't live in the village, my heart is on the village. Now to Mr. Maynard, you know, I listen to a lot of the plans that you have. And to tell you the truth, almost all the candidates on the party saying the same thing. Now we got to be realistic, because some of the plans that you proposed there have been tried, so maybe you need to look at it from a different angle. Because the one with the farmers, I mean, the agriculture department have invested a lot. They have tried and failed in trying to get the farmers to grow specific crops. And our farmers seem to have an independent, I mean, they don't cooperate. Some of them do, eh? Now, let me get to Fortland, because Fortland is part of Constituency 3 on the western side of Wrigley Avenue, isn't that so?
Quickly, caller, because we only have about 5 minutes left.
I know, I want him to hear me.
He's listening, yes.
Yes. Now, a lot of abandoned houses down there too, you know. And I don't hear any plans about that section of the village coming over to St. Johnson Avenue. A lot of
All right. In the interest of time,
yes.
If that's the issue, I want to respond to that very quickly because we do have.
I'm coming to another one. Let's go down to point.
Caller?
Hello?
Mr. Maynard, go ahead, respond.
Oh, yes. So to respond to that, and I hope you have an opportunity to, hear about the plans that I will have for that. I would probably want to read that out if I could just find it here under community development, where we are going to have the West Bastia Clean Beautification Project of West Bastia, which includes the enacting of legislation to clear abandoned lots and properties. And so within my own manifesto, we've already dealt with that particular issue, and we're going to go to it from a position of legislation, because most of those properties are owned by other people. And so the government does not just have a right without legislation to move on those properties. And so we have to create the legislative framework that allows the government to engage the property owners in a particular way, giving them the necessary timeframes and so on to keep their properties cleared or clean. And so that is well taken care of, and I want to thank the caller for that input. I know that Tiffany is here. She joined a bit late, and she had a question about small businesses, so I wanted her to get an opportunity to put in that question.
Okay, hi, good morning once again. One of the things that is really attractive to me with all the plans is the plans for small business. So being in the makeup industry, sometimes you order stuff and they come in and, you know, customs red flag it because they know it's commercial and that we're doing resale or it's a business we're running. So I'm trying to find out what exactly are the plans for tax exemption, duty free, those kind of things when you order stuff for your small business.
Right. So the St. Kitts Labour Party believes that in order for us to get businesses up and running, there must be some sort of breaks that are afforded to small businesses. And so we've spoken about, for instance, the Start from Zero policy, where once we have this post-COVID reset, businesses would have an opportunity to effectively start from zero, where we will have there will be a grace period in terms of your license fee, duties and taxes. Well, duties will be tax concessions will be given, duty concessions will be given for a period of time, and also tax holidays in terms of you paying tax to the government for a particular period of time until you reach to a particular time frame, whether it is 6 months or a year, and your business is up and running once again. But in addition to that, we are giving a commitment to do a complete review and overhaul of our duty tariff scheme. We believe that some of them are outdated and are effectively preventing the expansion of certain businesses in St. Kitts. I really apologize for this dry cough that is is haunted me this morning. I've been talking since 7 a.m. on the street this morning. So I accept my apologies. But yes, so we have given a commitment to a complete review. And I don't want to necessarily bust the bubble here on this particular show to explain some of the specific things we are going to be doing with respect to duties in St. Kitts and Nevis. But yes, we have identified that one, the small businesses need that particular break. And if you look in the program, I've listed it here in terms of on the small businesses, startup grants, loans, concessions, and training and guidance for newly launched and expanding small businesses. And so we give a commitment to follow through on this Start from Zero plan, where for a period of time, you will have no tax liability. We will get you up and running. You'll be able to stock out. You'll be able to do what you need to do. Get to a premium running phase of your business before these things become liable again. But added to that, we want to review the entire duty tariff scheme on everything that we import. We see a huge challenge. We see what happens when the government takes those things off for a few months. The economic activity increases significantly at our ports. And so stand by for the specific details on what we're going to be doing when it comes to duty in particular.
All right. Well, it is 12 noon, so we're going to have to take a break now for the headline news. And when we come back, we will continue the program. We had a number of calls coming in, so we will take those calls in the second hour of the program, if that's so okay.
Okay.
Yes, we'll take those calls in the second hour of the program. So we'll take this break now for the headline news, and when we come back, we'll keep the program going. For those of you who are just joining the program, we have here in studio with us today Mr. Conris Maynard of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, and he is the candidate for constituency number 3, discussing some of the plans and programs that he has for that constituency should he become the Member of Parliament. That is next week, Friday. We also have here some constituents, small business owners from constituency number 3. Let's take this break and we'll be right back.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and the ICDF Taiwan Technical Mission. Think before you bin it. There can be some use in it. The Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority, in collaboration with Taiwan ICDF Technical Mission and the Department of Environment, presents Let's Recycle. We're encouraging all residential homes, commercial businesses, and schools to bring along your plastic bottles, metal cans, and aluminum cans, ready for an opportunity to win big. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the following locations: in Nevis, every second and fourth Friday of each month at Delta Petroleum, ex-Petrol in Camps, Big Six in Gingerland, and the Old Artisan Village in Charlestown. In St. Kitts, every second and fourth Tuesday at the Connery Roundabout, every first and third Tuesday at Buckley's parking lot in front of Best Buy, and the last Saturday of each month in Deep Bay. But wait, that's not all. 1 pound equals 1 point. So bring your recyclables and build up your points for a chance to win stainless steel thermal bottles, flatware, and much more. To learn more about the recycling project, do visit our Facebook page at Let's Recycle in St. Kitts and Nevis, or contact us at 465-2372. The choice is yours. Save it or waste it. You are the difference. So think smart. Take PAT, reduce, reuse, recycle.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tilly Wall with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoy the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king. Please drink responsibly.
With the Win Headline News, I am Kevon Brown.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Making the headlines.
Independent candidates nominated for the National Assembly elections awaits official symbols.
Severe traumatic head injury ruled as the cause of Natalia Roberts' death. St. Vincent and the Grenadines government willing to rehire public sector workers who were fired because they did not take the COVID-19 vaccine. And new oil discovery made offshore Guyana. Internationally, the cost of gas is becoming untenable for many Kenyans, and the search for alternatives is leading some to the forests for charcoal.
As a result, environmentalists are worried about illegal logging in protected areas. Now, the details.
The Supervisor of Elections, Mr. Elvin Bailey, has confirmed that 2 independent candidates will be contesting seats in the upcoming National Assembly elections in St. Kitts and Nevis. The independent candidates are John Raskalonji Jeffers and Carlton DuPont. According to Bailey, Jeffers will be contesting the August 5 elections in constituency number 2, Central Bastia, for the United Lyamegan Party. He will be contesting the seat against Nubian Griot of the People's Labour Party, the incumbent John L. Powell of the People's Action Movement, and Marsha Henderson of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Carlton DuPont will be contesting the seat for constituency number 6, which includes the areas of Newton Ground, St. Paul's, Dieppe Bay, and Sadlers. He will be running against the incumbent Dr. Denzel Douglas of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, Mark Williams of the People's Labour Party, and Troy Flanders of the People's Action Movement. Additionally, the Supervisor of Elections told WinFM on Friday, July 29, that he has not yet assigned a symbol to the independent candidates. Samuel Keynes of the Moral Restoration Movement on Nevis has also indicated that though his party was launched over a year ago, he is yet to have a symbol officially assigned to him. Keynes told WinFM that unofficially, the symbol for his party is the spade, based on a previous dialogue between himself and the Supervisor of Elections. He also said that he and fellow candidate Patricia Mills Jeffers have notified the public whilst campaigning that the party's symbol is the spade, even though the symbol has not been officially assigned to the Moral Restoration Movement. Keynes expressed his displeasure in the situation, questioning how can candidates effectively communicate with the populace when less than 10 days before the general elections, there is no official confirmation about their symbol. Keynes, however, said he cannot be absolutely sure about the spade since the Supervisor of Elections has not given confirmation, but he is hoping that the symbol will remain as the spade when the official notice is given. Meanwhile, Bailey said though he has not officially assigned symbols to the individuals and parties in waiting, that does not affect the printing of the ballots. The Supervisor of Elections explained that there is a period of 3 days after nomination day in which one can withdraw their candidacy. This ended on Friday, July 29. He said, hopefully ballots will begin to be printed by Monday, August 1, Emancipation Day, as that day and Tuesday, August 2, though public holidays, will not see the closure of the electoral offices in the Federation.
Natalia Roberts, 21, of Cherry Garden, Nevis, died from a head injury caused by the accident that occurred on July 27th, according to the autopsy report. The autopsy was performed on July 28th by resident pathologist Dr. Adrian Nunez, who concluded that death was due to a severe traumatic head injury due to a motor vehicular accident. Roberts died in a traffic accident at Vaughan's Estate on Nevis during the early hours of Wednesday morning, July 27th. The St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force confirmed that she was extricated from the vehicle by members of the St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Services and was pronounced dead at the scene by the district medical officer. Ryan Powell of Fountain Village was driving the vehicle at the time of the accident. Powell sustained injuries that were treated at the Alexandra Hospital and he was discharged. In regional news, Grenada government holds retreat, St. Vincent and the Grenadines government willing to rehire public sector workers who were fired because they did not take the COVID-19 vaccine, and new oil discovery made offshore Guyana. Those reports and more from Primetime Caribbean.
The New Grenada government held a retreat for ministers and senior executives in St. George's on Friday. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell said the session was critical to ensure the efficiency of his new administration.
The fact that we've embarked upon having transition leads is a clear indication that we accept that we don't know everything, that we accept that we may have significant weaknesses that we would need strengthening. We accept that we will need to learn from others, particularly those who are more experienced than us. And so this retreat is part of our willingness to engage and embark upon that learning exercise.
Economist Richard Duncan, who has been a key person helping with the transition since the National Democratic Congress victory, the process has been thus far good.
Yeah, the process has been going quite well. As we like to explain to people, you first of all have to get a good assessment of the lay of the land, as it were, before you begin crafting the ways in which you are going to ensure that your transformation agenda is going to be rolled out. So the idea behind the transition leads is to ensure that they assist the ministers to be confident and sure-footed in the role that they have to perform, in ensuring that we can make the public service, the institutions, work as designed and as required by the Grenadian people. And the leads have been doing a great job. The permanent secretaries, by and large, have been very cooperative and supportive in the process.
On Friday, Prime Minister Mitchell announced that he has appointed an executive assistant, a new position in his office that adds another layer to the management. One of the persons who was not at the retreat on Friday was long-standing Labour Commissioner Cyrus Griffith. Now, Griffith, it has been reported, was informed on Friday that Friday would have been his last day on the job. The Labour Commissioner has passed the age of retirement, but was kept on the job on a month-to-month basis. Moving along, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines says it is now willing to rehire public sector workers who lost their jobs last year after failing to take a COVID-19 vaccine as required by law then. Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves made the announcement on Thursday, saying that the cabinet had on Wednesday received the advice from Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Kisa Beach. He said that following a briefing with health officials, including Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Roger Duncan, the cabinet agreed on a new regime which the Chambers of Attorney General John D. Martin will draft into law. Now, the Guyana government has welcomed the latest oil discoveries announced by U.S. oil giant ExxonMobil, which Minister Vikram Bharat said will further translate into improved living standards for Guyanese. The oil and gas company announced the discovery of a commercial quantity of oil at its wells on Tuesday. We have more in this report.
With these two discoveries, the oil find of ExxonMobil has increased to 7 so far for 2022. This adds to the already discovered 11 billion barrels of oil in Guyana and will also increase production.
This obviously would lead to our long-term plan of having 10 FPSOs by next 10 years. We already signed 2 other production licenses, Payara and Yellowtail. Yaru would be the next development that will come on board in the Stabroek block, and definitely these resources now discovered will add to the other developments to come. So it's something that the government of Guyana welcomes, and we look forward for even more positive results as we continue exploration activities offshore Guyana.
So far, 33 wells in the Stabroek block have yielded positive results for oil extraction, which takes the total to 38 oil discoveries offshore Guyana. Minister Barrett is eager for oil discovery in other blocks.
We will be happy to have discoveries made outside of the Stabroek block as well too, because that will bring development to different parts of the country. For example, the Quarantine block. Should we have another discovery move to development, it simply means more development for Region 6, Region 5 and those areas. They will probably see development that is taking place in Region 3 and 4 right now based on the Stabroek block.
Meanwhile, Minister Barrett committed to enhancing the framework to better manage the sector. Already, government was able to establish the Natural Resources Fund, which creates a greater accountability and transparency in the spending of the revenues accrued from the sale of crude oil.
Still in Ghana, the President there, Irfan Ali, reiterated Guyana's commitment to fighting climate change and developing sustainably. The president also highlighted the country's potential in becoming a world leader in key sectors such as the environment, agriculture, and technology. He made these statements during a discussion called Strengthening the Guyana-U.S. Relationship that was organized by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS Americas.
And I want to present Guyana as a perfect example of a country
and a policy-making environment that is seeking to achieve that balance in our development trajectory and our commitment on climate change. We are a net zero country. We have the lowest deforestation rate in the world, among the lowest in the world, 0.05%. We have a forest that goes through all the rigid global audits, and we're not going to change that.
Moving down south, the transformation of Trinidad and Tobago's Water and Sewage Authority, WASA, has been approved by the Cabinet, paving the way for organizational structural changes. On Thursday, Minister of Public Utilities Marvin Gonzalez said the changes are indeed urgent. WASA Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Ravindra Nanga, stated that this has been long in the making in an effort to create a more effective and efficient water management company. The chairman stated that the approach to the changes was strategic and will affect 426 executive level managers with the aim of reducing that figure by 50%.
Before the transformation plan is implemented, there will be negotiation so that we have a structure in mind, but that the transformation plan is a very dynamic.
Minister Gonzalez explained that the transformation will be done in phases and estimates that this will be done in 15 to 20 months and will incorporate the use and implementation of new technology within the authority.
We look at it in the context that once you incorporate technology, people are going to lose their jobs. No, I see it as an opportunity for workers to be reskilled, retooled, and citizens to come from outside, young people especially, who may benefit from some of the new jobs that will come into being once we have a restructured organization.
The minister assured that consultation will occur between the board and majority unions ahead of changes to the organizational structure. Now, he stressed that these changes are necessary for modern utility company.
To see the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago getting an improved public utility services in the area of electricity, post, water, sanitation.
This is Primetime Caribbean.
We now bring you these international reports.
Emmanuel Musili owns this restaurant in Kitui County in eastern Kenya, but his gas burners have not been used for a while. He tried to use gas for cooking, but the cost has been rising globally. Musili says his expenses were too high, so he switched to charcoal.
Of course, we care about the environment, but as times goes to be more harder, it becomes a time that you don't mind about the environment, but to take care of the cost production.
Here is the problem. Musili is not the only one who has decided to put aside his gas cylinder. The demand for charcoal is growing.
The government has reduced the cost of gas, but many people we've talked to here say they still cannot afford it for cooking. They say they use charcoal instead because it is cheaper.
Kenya's charcoal trade is worth nearly $500 million and employs thousands of people, but it continues to threaten the survival of trees and water catchment areas. This is despite the fact charcoal burning is restricted. The protected forest in Kitui South Reserve. It's vast and some of the trees have been here for many years. Sacks of charcoal are transported to different markets daily.
I used to work in Mombasa, but because of Corona, I lost my job. That is how I decided to burn charcoal. I have needs, and life has to go on. The business is my livelihood. I feed my children and take care of my family.
Officials whose work it is to protect forests try to replant what is destroyed and talk to communities about how they can harvest or prune trees sustainably.
We are way below the recommended international levels of 10%. We are 8.3% countrywide, which of course is less than the recommended level in the world, which is 10%.
Musili says He wants to protect the environment, but his priority is keeping his restaurant afloat and earning a living. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera, Kitui in eastern Kenya.
$2 billion of oil.
A controversial move by the Democratic Republic of Congo.
DRC is a new destination of investments for oil and gas companies.
It's auctioning off oil and gas development rights to 30 blocks of peatland tropical forest in the Congo Basin.
Welcome to DRC.
The president insists this does not mean his government is backtracking on commitments made at last year's UN climate summit.
I would like to reassure our partners of our determination to carry out exploration using modern technology that protects the environment, the fauna and the flora, and preserves the ecosystems and ecological balance.
The Congo Basin covers 530 million hectares in Central Africa and is home to 70% of the continent's forests. Some of the blocks the DR Congo plans to develop are located on Lake Kivu, Lake Tanganyika. One is in a coastal region alongside the Albertine Graben in the East African Rift Valley. Other plots are in the Virunga National Park, home to protected mountain gorillas and other endangered species. Environmentalists and climate activists warn drilling in these areas could be catastrophic.
We're talking about a very sensitive ecosystem called peatland that is storing more than 30 billion tons of carbon, and that is about 3 years of annual year of emission of the entire planet. That means any oil exploitation in this area will be a carbon bomb that will explode, and the humanity won't be the same anymore.
Those in favor of drilling say fossil fuel production would boost development in one of the world's poorest countries.
This is a moment in which we're trying to promote our resources. The Democratic Republic of Congo is a potentially rich country, but at the moment it remains just potential.
The government estimates there are 22 billion barrels of crude reserves and is targeting production of 200,000 barrels per day. But critics say there is no guarantee the wealth will benefit the Congolese people. Haru Matasa, Al Jazeera.
Supporters of the powerful Iraqi cleric Muqtada Sadr are staging a sit-in inside the country's parliament after storming the building for the second time in 3 days. Thousands had gathered in Baghdad, waving flags and chanting slogans. They're protesting against opposition plans to appoint a new prime minister. Iraq's health ministry says at least 60 people have been injured in the demonstrations. Mr. Sadr's bloc emerged from elections last October as the biggest parliamentary faction, but without a majority, and after months of deadlock, they quit last month. That's left a rival bloc in charge of Iraq, sparking more anger, as our correspondent Mike Thompson explains.
The idea of Sadr walking out with his 73 lawmakers was he thought that this would spark protests on the streets, which would then force the opposition to cooperate with him. Instead, it doesn't seem to have done that. They've simply now become the majority themselves after he walked out. And there's so far no real sign of cooperation. And really, it is worrying. I mean, the country has no budget. It's got power cuts happening all the time. It's got great problems with education and unemployment. And really, it needs a government, and it needs one quickly.
Pope Francis has said that health issues are likely to force him to travel less frequently and potentially even to retire. He was speaking to reporters following a 6-day visit to Canada. Alim Makbul was among them.
Pope Francis' trip to Canada was focused on apologising to Indigenous people for the way members of the Catholic Church had contributed to their oppression and cultural destruction. It was clear it was a visit that was important to him, but also one that took its toll. From his wheelchair on the plane back to Rome, the 85-year-old Pope told journalists it had been intense and that he realised that his age and health meant he needed to save a little of himself in order to serve the Church longer or consider retiring. The Pope says he does hope to visit Ukraine soon, but that depends on what his doctors say.
At least 2 people have been killed during the latest protest against UN peacekeepers in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Demonstrators accuse them of failing to protect civilians from attacks by various armed groups. Here's our correspondent in Nairobi, Emmanuel Agunza.
The latest clashes between protesters and Congolese security forces happened as hundreds of people gathered for the funeral wake of 9 civilians killed in violent protests in Butembo City. The coffins of the dead, some draped in the country's flag, had earlier been paraded through the streets as people chanted anti-UN slogans and songs. They vowed to continue with the protests that have been going on since early last week. But police intervened, dispersing the crowds, and took possession of the coffins.
The Russian energy company Gazprom says it has suspended gas supplies to Latvia, the latest EU country to be hit with such action as tensions continue over Ukraine. Gazprom accused Latvia of violating conditions of purchase but gave no details of that alleged violation. Latvia relies on neighbouring Russia for natural gas imports, but gas forms only a quarter of its energy consumption. In the Czech Republic, rain and poor visibility is preventing aircraft from taking off to help put out a forest fire that's been burning for almost a week on the northern border with Germany. 700 firefighters are involved in the operation in the Bohemian Switzerland National Park. Our correspondent Rob Cameron said the change in weather is problematic.
The aircraft can't take off because the weather is so cloudy and visibility now has fallen again this morning. So while the helicopters are in action, the firefighting planes that have been brought in from several countries, they can't be used. So that is in fact hampering this offensive action, they're calling it. They say they've moved from the defensive to the offensive. They want to put this thing out, but they can't get those aircraft into the air.
Debris from a Chinese rocket is expected to crash uncontrollably back to Earth sometime this weekend. It's thought about 5 tons will be left after it breaks apart in the atmosphere and will hit Earth at several hundred kilometres per hour. Chinese space scientists say it will most likely crash into the sea, but its flight path also takes it over North and South America, Australia, India and China. A lucky lottery player in the United States has won a jackpot worth nearly $1.3 billion. The winner's identity hasn't been revealed, but the ticket was bought in the state of Illinois. Americans had rushed to take part in Friday's Mega Millions draw after months of rollovers meant the prize money continued to grow. It's the second largest amount ever given away to a single US lottery player. BBC News.
You were listening to the WinFM Headline News on 98.9. Our top stories were:
independent candidates nominated for the National Assembly elections awaits official symbols.
Severe traumatic head injury ruled as the cause of Natalia Roberts' death. St. Vincent and the Grenadines government willing to rehire public sector workers who were fired because they did not take the COVID-19 vaccine. And new oil discovery made offshore Guyana. Internationally, the cost of gas is becoming untenable for many Kenyans, and the search for alternatives is leading some to the forests for charcoal. As a result, environmentalists are worried about illegal logging in protected areas. Thank you for listening.
That was the WinFM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and the ICDF Taiwan Technical Mission.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a local reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. DLU Walwyn, people you can trust.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International. By land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Think before you bin it. There can be some use in it. The St. Kitts and Nevis Solid Waste Management, in collaboration with Taiwan ICDF Technical Mission and the Department of Environment, presents Let's Recycle. We are encouraging all residential homes, commercial businesses, and schools to bring along your plastic bottles, metal cans, and aluminum cans, ready for an opportunity to win big. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every second and fourth Tuesday each month at the following locations in St. Kitts: the Connery Roundabout, every first and third Tuesday at Buckley's parking lot in front of Best Buy, and the last Saturday of each month in Deep Bay. In Nevis, every second and fourth Friday of each month at Delta Petroleum, Ex-Petrol in Camps, Big Six in Gingerland, and Old Artisan Village in Charlestown. But wait, that's not all. 1 pound equals 1 point. So bring your recyclables and build up your points for a chance to win stainless steel thermal bottle, flatware set, and much more. To learn more about the recycling project, do visit our Facebook page at Let's Recycle in St. Kitts and Nevis, or contact us at 465-2372. The choice is yours. Save it or waste it. You are the difference. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Found the Sound 98.9 FM. People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. It's 12:38. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. We have a very special edition of Inside the News today. We have Mr. Conris Maynard of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. He is the candidate for constituency number 3. And today he's joined by constituents from number 3, small business owners. And today the conversation is centered around Mr. Maynard's manifesto for constituency number 3. Guys, we have some callers on the phone lines, and so we'll be taking some calls because just before we took the break at 12, some callers came in. Can you guys hear me clearly? Okay, so let's take this first call. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. The phone lines are open. Call us at 466-0989, 762-0989, or 662-0989. Call us and be a part of the conversation for today. Let's take this caller. Caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Yes, caller, please turn off the radio.
Hold on, sir. Better? Yeah. No, what I'm saying is that I got to say something to you, Mr. Cornelius, before addressing the Labour panel there. Now, we need to stop making this joke that we usually make, that Kittians have a short memory. Because it's, we just say, oh, Kittian talk about things for a few days and then they forget about it. We need to stop it. Because it's obvious that there are people who really genuinely believe that to be true. And I am now talking about the Labour Party. They seem to think that we have forgotten them. Very quickly, they're coming in our face, talking about the fresh and the clean and the recycled. When we look at them closely, we could see they wear the same old dirty, oily khaki pants.
Well, caller, do you have a question for any of the members on the panel?
I want to say something, and then the question will come because they have had a long,
Well, let's get the question and stick to that. All right.
So, would I be allowed to say a statement other than just a question?
Let's get
or just a
caller.
question?
If you have a question for the panel, pose the question. We want to take some other calls.
Okay, what is new and recycled about the Labour Party dragging along Douglas, who we had to form Team Unity in the first place to get rid of? In a short few years, you are coming back and telling us that you have recycled and you're fresh and you're clean, whereas he is there hiding behind you with the pretending smile, waiting like a snake to struck. You understand? And I'm saying there is nothing fresh about Labour. We need to examine them carefully. Joe is not no true leader behind them, he's a leader on paper. And so what I'm saying is people must not be deceived by this Labour Party that they are fresh. So what is new about them? A lady asked yesterday, why are we calling Douglas' name? Why are Douglas' name? Now wait it down here. Why are Douglas' name being mentioned all now, sir? And we have to mention his name because he's still on the ballot today, asking to be involved in our affairs again. When he cares nothing about the democratic process for 24 months, all thereabouts. I think it's all.
All right, we caller, thank you. Caller, thank you for your contribution. All right. Mr. Maynard, you want to?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Cornelius. This program, of course, is to speak about the issues related to constituency number 3.
Yes.
But I do appreciate that you will have those who wish to divert the conversation elsewhere. But we do need to correct the record. It's hard for me to accept someone calling and asking about Dr. Denzel Douglas being just a candidate now for constituency number 6, when clearly he is probably supporting a candidate in Timothy Harris who has served more years in government than Dr. Denzel Douglas. May I remind you that Timothy Harris served 18 years as a minister of government in the Labour Party administration and has since served an additional 7 years, 25 years in government. So how can you be asking me that question in the face of the fact that you have someone who you're promoting, I presume, who has served more time in government than the person you're talking about? So that's the first thing. And secondly, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party is a mature organization of 90 years and has gone about doing what it has done in the most democratic of ways. We were all chosen democratically. Dr. Joe is our leader, and he will be our leader until the party, whenever it decides to do so. I recall many times people saying to us, Dr. Douglas is going to die in his boots. He will never move. Why are you all there? And I never had that concern because Dr. Douglas gave us and the party his word. He said, whenever the party is ready to move on to new leadership, he will facilitate it in every way that he could. And I want to commend Dr. Denzel Douglas for not putting not even a pebble in the road in terms of the transition of the leadership of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. He has done every single thing humanly possible to facilitate the smoothest of transitions within the Labour Party. And for some, they, because of ill-perceived perceptions that they had before, cannot understand that. Because, for instance, their own leader, for instance, in Timothy Harris, they know he will never do something like that. They understand the beast that there is. And so, even when to save a government, others were saying, let us come to an arrangement to save the Unity Coalition government. Timothy Harris said, no, I'd rather burn the whole thing down. Dr. Denzel Douglas would have never done that. And furthermore, why we are here today, 7 years later, to discuss this new, revitalized St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, it is because what you said that you put together, we have now come to learn was a complete farce. Not us saying it, but your own members of your coalition said it was corrupt, bad from the start. They are now reporting from day one. We had nothing to do with that. And so we are here today having to go back to the electorate because the coalition that you put together was built on sand. It had no foundation, it had no root in the proper advancement of the causes of the country. And so I want to commit here that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party has a whole breath of fresh air associated with it. I have never served in government. In fact, 7 of our candidates have not served in ministerial capacities before. And obviously, we welcome the experience and the positive experiences that Dr. Douglas brings to the team. But we are the only ones that offer really a difference because we are the only one who will offer new and different leadership. Timothy's leadership has now been called into question, not just by Labour, not just by PAM, but also by CCM. Everywhere that Timothy Harris has trod, he has been called into question. And so the question must be asked, then why is it that it is Timothy Harris whom everywhere he goes, he cannot have a cadre of people continuing to support him? He left the Labour Party, and people were, well, he was fired from the Labour Party because of all that he was doing, from the Labour government, that is. He formed his own political organization, and everybody who he formed that a party with has now left. He then joined a coalition of other parties, and every one of those members have left. And so there's only one constant there. And so perhaps the caller needs to do the same type of evaluation of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party on other political parties that have caused us to be in the political quagmire that we find ourselves. So I am sorry that you had to introduce it, but I am never going to be someone who is going to sit by and allow people to take advantage of these airwaves without correcting the record.
Thank you so much.
So with that said, I guess we can move right into.
Yes.
You had another call?
There's another caller.
Okay. All right.
Let's take this call quickly. The caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon to the panel there, and Mr. Maynard.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, how are you, Conway? How are you?
I am well, and yourself?
Yeah, I'm here taking it easy. What I don't like about this thing, right, as you say, a mouthful. That person calling to, trying to condemn you all, but look at it. He make us feel in 2015 it was God sent, which, you know, nobody, they say, don't hold that for granted. But we will say, yes, you know, we feel good, right? And just so much a thing, and we now come to, it's a different ball game, right? If Mr. Douglas will give you all the promise, that's really making people itchy that he really not going to be the prime minister again. He's going to just be, you know.
All right. We call it. Do you have a question for the panel today?
Yeah, my question is that I hope Mr. Douglas is not going to be the leader again. And next thing, while you all in this 90s, the Labour Party, right, into power. I think that place down Church Street, where you all call a headquarters, should have done bill over and look real fast.
All right.
Headquarter, and then instead of go over there and rent the place in 4th Street, because to me, even cause of mayhem, I don't know if you all could think about it before the Juju time, even though you all don't pay for it, but to me, I want to really go in there and so on, because, it's too close and nobody want to get injured, because we want this thing good and good.
All right. We're going to thank you.
Something, they don't cut me. I'm trying to express myself. We see doing something better. And with this thing, you look too, fishy, but only hope and pray nothing happen. And, as Mr. Maynard said, there's a lot behind the man. They just, sleeve. I get that up to the
All right,
last-
caller, thank you for your contribution. We're have to get this program going on because time is leaving us.
Right.
So let's continue with some of the other plans that you have to share with the public. Plans geared towards improving constituency number 3.
Right. So thanks a million. I want to touch on a few very quickly. Under our platform of sports development, the village area is actually one of the only areas that has a prominent football team that does not have the requisite play field to accommodate that particular football team. And so we are going to have the transformation of the Limekeel Playfield into a top-class multi-purpose sporting facility, which will become the home ground for the village Superstars, Trafalgar South Stars, and other sporting clubs in West Bastille. We'll also have the redevelopment of Patsy Alla's Playfield into a nice, cozy play park, featuring artificial turf, bleachers, players, pavilion, and side nettings. Some years ago, when the St. Kitts Labour Party was still in office and I became a candidate, I had influenced the government to start the Boyd's Playfield, including including the pavilion. That project has not been completed, and so I give the commitment to complete the Boyd's Playfield, including the fencing and proper lighting. Additionally, we want to create a recreational space or recreational spaces for some key areas of the constituency that always complain about their children's ability to play. That is the Camps Estate, Buckley's Estate, and Shadwell Estate. So we will identify which will be smaller play areas. They're not large enough. Sorry, excuse me. They're not large enough to hold big play fields, but small enough to have community play. And so we want to give a commitment to that. And I want to speak specifically for us supporting the instituting of a national sports academy to groom our young talents into professional athletes. I'm always one who believes that not because you were born in St. Kitts means that you are any different from any talent born in Argentina, Brazil, China, UK, or wherever. The difference, however, is the resources that can hone the particular talents that those children would have. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that is missing in our part of the region is this idea of sports academies, where when we identify talent among children who are young, instead of sending them to traditional high schools, you send them to specific sporting academies that they breed, eat, drink, how to become a professional athlete while still getting the education. So we intend to set up a national academy where children will be enrolled. Excuse me, and that will be the high school for them. And they will enter from about age 12, such that when they're done, they are ready to go off to university to become professional athletes. So that is some of our plans that we have for sport development in our constituency, and also linked nationally through the Sports Academy.
I wanted to ask before we move on, in terms of this, the Sports Academy, it says support for the instituting of a national sports academy to groom our young talents into professional athletes. Can you expound on how the sports academy would be designed in terms of its structure?
Right. So there are many options you can use. We have looked at some structures that already exist to incorporate this school. You can think of it as a school. It's effectively a high school.
Right.
But they will live at the school. And so they will wake in the mornings and they have their training before class, the things that are necessary to get them attuned to what the life of a professional athlete will be. Their diets will be catered towards ensuring that their body is fed in the correct way. They will learn all of the necessary techniques associated with their specific craft or their specific sport. They will then go to classes just like everyone else at 9 o'clock. And then they have lunch and so on. And the whole curriculum is based on ensuring that while they are being taught for their educational purposes, they're also taught for being an athlete. So the structure depends on where we eventually decide to place it, but it's going to have to be in close proximity to a play field that is multi-purpose. So obviously I will push for something like this in constituency number 3 as I intend to build a multi-purpose sporting facility that will have a plethora or a wide range of sports in one specific area, because we intend to have football, cricket, tennis, volleyball, netball, what was
golf,
the other one?
Volleyball.
Volleyball, not golf for Lime Keel, and also probably not track at Lime Keel, right? So we would want some place that they can
and
access.
Swimming, don't forget swimming.
Right, and swimming. And swimming. And so, yes, so the structure part of it is not defined as yet. Some years ago, I think maybe 2 years ago, we had engaged one of the investors who had already agreed to partner in this endeavor. They have done a similar project in another Caribbean island, which is beginning to bear fruit for them. And so we look forward to that.
Carla?
Conrys, the question that pops in my head, because I think that's what I'm here to do, or like the guy said, a labor platform, but we are here to throw questions at you because we are in the at grassroots level.
Right.
How would this work? Do we plan on having will competitive sports still happen between primary schools, and then basically you're picking out of them these people to go to high schools, to this particular high school, to groom them for the future? So then what happens to the high school intersports that we are so used to? Because if all the athletes are in this one high school, then how are they going to, we don't have the Basti High School, we don't have the inter-school, sports day. What happens with that, if we are doing something like this?
Right, that's a very good question, and that came up in our discussions with the investor, if I can recall. And one of the things, all of these persons would have already been zoned to attend a particular high school. And so they can keep that particular zone. So although they attend the academy for periods of time, obviously they're not going to be there the entire set of months. They will then go back to acclimatize at home and participate in social events and regular living. But they will be paired and zoned with their particular area for their high school. So the intent then is they will fall in as the athletes for those particular schools.
Okay.
Instead of having this premier school competing against others.
I see what you're saying. So basically you'll have that little clique. So I'm a Basti High School. You can still have this cliquishness.
Right.
So, we are Basti High School athletes, Washington Archibald High, ICCS. And I hope the private schools will be included because, my daughter goes to a private school, and I'm sure other people along the way, their children, and I find a lot of times the private schools, the Sky, Ross, and so on, they don't get that level of attention that the public schools get for some of these activities that take place.
Right. In addition, as well, we intend for this National Academy not to be solely for residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. We want to make it such that we can invite potential professional students from across the world, because that is what is going to give you exposure to be able to have our students interact with other professional students from around the globe, and so it's intent to be inclusive of others as well, and so we will not have. I don't envision that we will peer this National Academy with the other schools, but rather allow the students to be still zoned where they would have originally been.
Okay.
That's a good question.
All right, guys, it is 1 o'clock. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll keep the program going. Let's take this break. We'll be right back.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere. Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere.
How do I prepare a disaster plan? Step 1.
TDC Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services. We are strong. TDC Financial Services. This is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News. It's just 2 minutes past the hour of 1. Carla, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I know we are going to move on. When I was invited to come on this program this morning into this afternoon, one of the things I recognize is that this weekend is the weekend on which we celebrate Emancipation Day. August 1st, which is Monday, a holiday, is Emancipation Day. And it is a day on which we pay little attention to, except that we go to the beach, we go to Culturama and those things. I see here that Mr. Maynard has an area called History and Culture. So as we move on, I would like for him to address what I'm asking about, as well as his platform, as it pertains to history and culture, and how he sees Emancipation Day, and the importance of it, because it's a very important day to us. So I'd like for him to touch on that.
All right, thank you very much, Carla, and it would be my pleasure. Now, under my platform of history and culture, I have a number of things listed, and so I'll go to them very quickly. One, we have to acknowledge, if we have not already, that St. Kitts is actually the birthplace of democracy in the Caribbean. In 1935, on January 28th or thereabout, some workers on estates around the country decided to stand up to the estate managers, demanding better pay and work conditions. This eventually led to an uprising over the next couple of days in the Buckley's area. And so to memorialize that, I'm giving a commitment to the construction of a 1935 Buckley's Uprising monument, so that forever the history in some sort of edifice can record our support and appreciation of our fallen heroes who fought for workers' rights.
Congress, I don't want to
Bust my
interrupt
bubble.
you. I don't want, but you know, I have to pull you up here. I don't want us to be paying lip service to this, because time and time again we have heard of this. We have been the Rastafarian movement, Nyabingi Theocracy Order, have been at the helm of having that day, you know, where we have the celebrations. You have been there, I have been there. We have heard year after year talk of this, a monument. You know, I, as chair of the Reparations Committee, the St. Kitts Nevis Reparations Committee, it is something we too put on our agenda, but so far, since the formation of that Reparations Committee, the support, the financial support hasn't come through for this. It was in our budget as one of the things that we want to, as well as other places of memory around the island, and those things, you know, 2 years after, 2.5 years, I should say, after the formation of the Reparations Committee, we see where we are at today. And so I want to know that our history, our culture, you know, the reparations movement, and all of these things are definitely going to be something that is given not just lip service, but serious consideration, serious attention, I should say.
Absolutely. The difference between your experiences and what is to come is that Congress Maynard was not there in any position that can make this a reality. I'm now asking for that opportunity to serve in that capacity. But I might want to add here that since becoming involved in terms of promoting this, I have been the one who has consistently erected the only recognition of this site by placing a billboard and sponsoring the erection of a billboard at the Buckley's estate yard. As you enter Buckley's by the brewery, you will see a board that lists the uprising, all of the members who got injured and those who died in solidarity with this extraordinary event in our history, which, as I mentioned, went beyond the shores of St. Kitts and Nevis, sparked the Moyne Commission, which looked at the state of the estates across the Caribbean and led to a number of changes, including the birth of democracy in other areas. And so I want to, in public, give a commitment that this will remain a priority issue for me. It has always been. I have always spoken about it. And I want to see this happen, especially because it is in my constituency. It is not sufficient for me to hear that, oh, well, there's an issue with land. I just believe that there has not been any genuine will to get this done.
Okay.
And I am giving a commitment that this will get done. Right? There are some things that you don't have a lot of control over. But this monument is something that can be done, and it will be done. And in addition to that as well, one of the persons who were instrumental in not allowing this to escalate any further was Joseph Nathaniel France himself. He became the broker, basically, to calm the situation and to help ease the tensions.
Okay.
And so it's fitting that I also have here that we will have the Joseph Nathaniel France Memorial Project, which is the conversion of Sir Francis House into a museum. I keep referring to the fact that some years ago when I visited, I think it is Atlanta, I really do need to check that. Wherever Martin Luther King's
yes, I saw
home,
it
is. You saw it as well?
Yeah, I've been there in Atlanta.
Correct. And when you enter, everything is preserved. You can see exactly how he lived as a little boy. And, you know, it really allowed your mind to transcend and go back 50, 60, 70 years to what life must have been like. And I want to recreate that experience for our own national hero, Sir Joseph Nathaniel France, so that when you enter his humble abode, you can see maybe the goose iron or something that he used, the chair that he sat in, this very simple utensils he may have had in whatever other kitchen there was, and use it as a point to help us reflect on the service of this giant of a man who was extraordinarily humble but made a significant impact on our lives here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And added to that, because of his humility, Sir Joseph Nathaniel France walked everywhere he went. And I am told of the stories of him walking with his briefcase in his hand everywhere, and in particular to work on Church Street, either at Massey's house or government headquarters. And so what we will have is the project called the Walk a Mile in My Shoes Footsteps, where we will have the footsteps of Sir Joseph Nathaniel France imprinted along the sidewalks from his home to government headquarters. So from his home on St. Johnson Avenue, you will have footprints that will be imprinted within the sidewalks, such that anyone who is walking along the street can see this type of monument of Sir Joseph Nathaniel France. The traditional monuments are statues that you place one way, but we're going to show his humility by his footsteps walking from St. Johnson Avenue along Keon Street and down to Church Street, and you will probably have a step up into Massey's house and a step up into government headquarters. Additionally, we would want to have what we call the annual Bastia continue. COVID put a stop on these activities, so we're hoping that we probably could continue that from this year. The annual West Bastia Heroes Gala and Awards, rewarding community activists, teachers, nurses, and healthcare professionals, police officers, sportsmen and women, clergy, small business owners and workers, civil servants, and any other groups of persons positively contributing to our community. And then continued support, of course, for our cultural groups, masquerade, carnival, etc. And finally, the transformation of Wigley Avenue into a cultural avenue to showcase our cultural heritage, including arts, music, food, folklore, etc. Many of you would know that Wigley Avenue is a street that has a serious thoroughfare of tourists when they come on the ships. That is the street that the taxis use to then disperse to the countryside or to the western side of the island, or even the eastern side of the island. And so we are saying we must utilize that as a constituency and create an avenue that these tourists can stop and engage in our food, in our arts, in our music, in our folklore. So that street or that avenue comes alive for a particular time of day during a particular season. So these are some of the things we want to touch on when it comes to our history and culture. And I want to also give the commitment that, including for the 1935 Buckley's Uprising, one of the things that we want to do is to make this part of the curriculum in schools so that our children are aware. And we're going to see how we can make some sort of national day or national half day of January 28, 1935, such that everyone is aware that this has this existed. Excuse me. And as I agree with you when it comes to Emancipation Day. Okay. Right now it's seen largely as a holiday. And sometimes we lose the significance of what emancipation has meant for a people like us who were enslaved and in bondage. And many people died to have, I think it's 1834 thereabout.
Yeah, 1838, 1st August 1838. Right. Yeah, abolition, 1st of August 1834. Full emancipation, 1838. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And I'm very interested in also speaking with you further on your efforts as it pertains to the reparations committee. I've been hearing about this for some time, and as you've rightly said, you have not had the support, and so I want to be a bit presumptuous and welcome you to have those discussions with the new Labour administration, such that we can put some more support behind this, because there is a lot of discussions about this and a lot of potential for further development of our country and our economies. All right. If there are no other questions on history and culture, I wanted to touch on a bit of youth and education.
Sure.
Apart from the fact that it's a no-brainer that the St. Kitts Youth Labour Party is going to reinstate the one-to-one laptop policy. I never understood why the government removed that. It came to haunt us during the pandemic, when had we had that still, the transition from in-classroom learning to remote learning would have been a lot smoother for our students. But we are giving a commitment to the provision of a laptop or a tablet to each primary school child in West Bastia. This is in collaboration, of course, with the national effort on this. That also is in addition to those who would receive them at the high school level. I have an ongoing scholarship program in West Bastia, and so I want to continue that. It's called the Conrad Maynard West Bastia All-Round Student Scholarship Award. The reason why I named this, I've never gotten to speak about this much as to why I have an All-Round Student Scholarship Award, because it's a bit personal for me. When I was in high school, I've always been someone who is involved in a number of things. So I was involved in sports, I was involved in drama, I was involved in school projects and academics, and so I got an all-round student scholarship award at the high school level. I also went to university. I played a bit of cricket when I was in Barbados. I got involved in the associations there, and obviously I was doing well in school as well. So I got an all-round award as well for in my first year at university. And so I think it's very important for us to be encouraging our students to be involved in a bit of everything, so that they can be well-rounded. And so this scholarship promotes that, and we want to continue and expand that. There's one program here called the My Mentor program, where we want to develop in constituency number 3 an apprenticeship program in which adults and professionals can help to guide our young people in their fields of interest. So we want to engage small businesses, small business owners, professional skilled tradesmen, and so on, to maybe have children tag along maybe on Saturdays and so on in a My Mentorship program, such that they can understand how it is in the particular field and get a sense of if that is something that they might want to do. Now, this one, specifically for you, Tiffany, as someone in the arts as well. Do you know I used to do a little drumming with Okolo? Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
That's before your time. I went down and tried a little thing with Ava Henry and so on. Yeah. Roy would remember that. Yeah. And so I did a small little drumming because I've always been enthused by the Okolo group. And so what we're going to do is facilitate the development of a vibrant youth and creative orange economy through the resourcing and promotion of youth-centric industries such as the arts, music, design, cuisine, film, entertainment, media, sports, and lifestyle. And so this is, of course, in collaboration with our national commitment to building a national performing arts center and academy, right? Because we believe that this is a sector that has tremendous potential, the orange economy. We have to learn the value of entertainment. I don't believe that many people get it as yet. And I think that was very evident in the last government, where we had a pandemic and the entertainment industry was effectively crushed with very little support during that time. We have to understand that just like we've invested in tourism, just like we've invested in infrastructure, just like we intend to invest in agriculture, we have to invest in entertainment. Again, I believe that you can't make an argument to me that anybody from another island or another country just happens to be more talented than persons here. It is just the opportunities are not there for their growth. And so we give a commitment. We have 2 entertainers on board who have been experienced practitioners in the orange economy. That is Samuel Duggins and myself. I have traveled the world singing and performing, and so I have a keen appreciation and understanding what is required to reach certain heights. And so we give that commitment. I don't know if you had any particular questions on this orange economy push.
No, I don't have any questions. I'm just really eager to see what this...
Pull the mic closer to your mouth.
Sorry. Okay, I was saying I don't have any questions, but I'm really eager to see what this complex has to offer for us, Okolo. We don't have a home as yet, but we really looking forward for spacing to call our home.
And I'm looking forward to that as well, for us to have a proper national performing arts center.
Yes.
Where the arts can thrive, and it can be just a daily activities throughout. Dance spaces, performance spaces, performing theater, and move away from having a show being cancelled because of weather.
Yes.
Again, I have to butt in here and say, not lip service.
No problem.
Of course.
Because this is things we hear about. This is something that is absolutely needed. And I think politicians tend, when they get into parliament, to move slowly. This is one of those things that need a hit the ground running attitude.
Yes.
Right? And this is what,
This is going to be the first time where you're going to, as I said, and as I tell some of my constituents as I visit them, sometimes I feel like the fourth boyfriend. I think I might have told you this before. In politics, I feel like the fourth boyfriend because, Tiffany, the first boyfriend, came to you and told you all the very nice things that you want to hear, that you're going to get your performing arts theater. He's going to treat you like this and that and so on, etc. And he goes on and he breaks your heart. The second boyfriend comes along and he says the very same thing, maybe in a nicer tone, maybe he has even a cuter smile. And you said, no, this time has to be the one. And you give him a chance and he breaks your heart again. Yeah. The third one, who's supposed to be the charm, comes along, tells you the very same things again, and your heart is broken. Now the fourth one comes along, Mr. Conrad Maynard, who is genuine about what he's saying, actually believes it, and will actually get it done. How do you, Tiffany, as a 3-time heartbroken young lady, trust that Congress Maynard will be the one? I'm going to get a harder time. And I can sense that coming from Carla here. I can sense it from the constituents that I've heard this before. Mr. Casanova, how are you going to be different? Well, you see, unfortunately, I don't have any other way to prove it than
by giving you the chance to.
Giving me the chance to.
Okay.
And so I'm asking the electorate, and I want to make this point here as well. I'm asking the electorate to give us that chance. I want us to remember that politics is not a one and done event. Our democracy is ever evolving, and we have to get better with time. And so we're going to make some mistakes along the way. We're going to choose some wrong people along the way. We're going to be disappointed along the way. But our civic duty is to continue trying to find among us the people who are going to actually make real change and real difference. And so we cannot give up on that process. So I'll go further to say that even if Congress Maynard, most unlikely, and Samuel Duggins and the Labour Party fails on this issue, you have a duty to find somebody else who's going to do it, and not to give up on it. And so I want to encourage people that politics is an ongoing process that requires our constant engagement, and we ought to change any change until we find the change that we need. Given the opportunity, I know that we're going to deliver certain things, especially like this. This is going to be a priority. In fact, in our manifesto, I think it's number 1 when it comes to during our term on the youth, sports, and entertainment. Item A, build a national performing arts center and academy. Number 1.
Mr. Maynard?
Yes.
As you know, in these shows, sometimes we take different twists and turns.
Yes.
So I'm getting a message from someone who's tuned in. And so I know you're putting your agenda forward for the community, but also you're putting forward the general party platforms.
Yes.
So I'm trying to tie the two of them together. And I see here you're talking about under community development, housing and infrastructure development, increased water catchment to ensure 24-hour availability of water. I'm bringing this directly here because someone asked me, can you please ask about the plans for water? Water is turned off every night. Is that not because there are so many leaks? If that is so, what about fixing that? Yes, the aquifer is low, so desalination plant may be needed, but no point if there are leaks. So I'm bringing this. I'm just trying to tie it. So I know we don't have a lot of time, and so I'm just putting the person's question to you as well as letting you focus on that community development, which it falls under.
Right. Okay. That's quite okay. And yes, we do have water issues. One, we have a catchment issue because, as you're saying, if our aquifer is low, then we have nowhere else to go for water. And so I know that before the change of the last government in 2015, there were a number of plans to access additional water wells in St. Kitts and Nevis. And the government put an end to that. That would have at least eased the burden now because we will have additional sources. Even as we go about a process of reducing the leaks in the system, that is just about repair.
Okay.
But even if you repair, you still have a problem with the sourcing of the water. And so we give a commitment to re-engage all of these particular discussions to solve the water issue. Again, what I've noticed is that in government, what you need is the will. Because as the government, you'll be able to accomplish anything you want to do. If you have the political will and if it is feasible in terms of your capital requirements. And the water distribution situation is certainly doable. This is going to be also linked with, of course, conservation practices so that we are able to conserve water that we have ourselves or that we can gather ourselves, right? And we ought to make it almost mandatory to have the buffer system such that when there is an issue with water, you are able to have water still at your household, right? You had a question? Oh, and so for instance, I think it's somewhere in our manifesto as well, right? Enhance public education programs about water conservation and protection of water sources. So for instance, we may have to include in our building codes that you must have a specific capacity of water storage for your home, right? Such that when there is water supply, when there is high levels of water in our catchment areas, that you are able to store some at your home, right? And make it an automatic thing, right? Right now, water is going a lot across the entire country, but there are some persons, of course, who have little cistern systems that would be able to sustain them when the water is cut off. So it's going to be a wholesome approach to it. And again, as your engineer on the team, this is also something that I went as far as to include it in my community development plan for constituency number 3.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. There's someone that had a question. I'm waiting for them to get their question in, but we're soon out of time, just about 3 minutes left before we wrap up the program. Can I get some closing comments from the panelists, and then we'll wrap up the program for today?
So I'll ask our guests, our constituents, to probably just give a closing statement, and then I can wrap up. From
awesome.
Okay. What I would like to say is, Mr. Maynard, I've known you for some time now, and I know you never gotten the chance to be any minister of any particular portfolio, but I am really looking forward to these plans and promises, quote unquote, that you have put place for us. And if not, then we'll be very, very disappointed, because we look up to you, we look forward to you, and we believe in you. So we expect you to make us proud.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
Carla?
Well, Mr. Maynard, it was a pleasure being here to be able to talk to you across the table. This coming election is a tough one. It's something we did not plan for. You have been in the trenches, fighting for this. You've won that seat before. You've lost the seat. So now, you're coming out much stronger and harder. And I'm going to wish you all the best. I know you've already given me some support in my small business, so you're showing that your heart is in it, and I do appreciate that. I like that. It doesn't matter the amount; it just matters that someone shows interest, and I want that continued interest in us, the small business people, the small entrepreneurs. So if it means that this coming Friday that I have to do what is best, the best thing that I can do, I will do it. Okay, I will see that I make the right decision on Friday.
All right, Mr. Maynard.
Well, thank you very much to two of my constituents who came here to ask questions about some of the plans. I really do give a commitment to try my utmost best to succeed. I have always been like that. When given a task, as long as I believe I can do it, I will go after it, and I will conquer. And I don't want this to be any different. You said you want me to make you proud. I have made West Bastia proud in the past, and I intend to do that again. For me, this is about what it is I can offer to the development of my country, and in particular my constituency. I've had a long desire since as a little boy to see something close to a utopic St. Kitts and Nevis. It is what consumes my mind. When I sit and eat, my mind is churning as to how can I influence this thing to be better? How is it that we can, for instance, today, while I was driving, I was thinking about geothermal potential and what that could mean for St. Kitts and Nevis in terms of being able to export electricity. These are the things that consume me from a little boy, and you can see it coming out in my music and so on. So one of the things my father always says that people don't change, they just become who they really are. And who I really am is about finding a solution of advancement for my country. So when given that opportunity in the halls of parliament, and more specifically in the halls of cabinet, I am certain that I am going to be able to succeed with whatever limited resources there are. So I want to thank you guys for being a part of this process. I want to take this opportunity to ask you personally, you don't have to answer here, for your vote on Friday, the 5th of August. I think that I've prepared and presented a plan, very thoughtful and realistic. I was meeting a constituent yesterday, and he said to me, one of the things I like about your plan is that it's realistic. It's not like a pie in the sky. There are things that can actually be achieved, that just require will. And so I want to really thank you, and ask you for your support. Just so you know, to give me your support, you have to put the X next to the hand.
Conor,
Yes.
Conor, can I steal a couple minutes? Just a minute or two?
That's
one
one.
minute?
Yes.
Conor, someone once says that you have a lot of plans. Which are the top things that you will focus on as in the first year or two if you get elected? I don't know if you can answer that very quickly.
So small business is going to be one. For sure, support for small businesses and the small business mall complex will be something that's very critical. housing.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to move into that very quickly in terms of providing housing for our people. There are a lot of other things here that can happen right away. So we will do all of those, like, for instance, the laptop program and so on. The mentorship program, all of these programs that we've spoken about can get going right away. But it's going to be small business, it's going to be critical. As I said, housing. Also, in terms of the pushing the government to get the support of the increase of the national minimum wage, right? Support and expansion of the PAP program. Those are some of the things that we are going to be working on.
And
right
history
away.
and culture.
Right, and history and culture. I know you're pushing that. That is for certain. I presume that I want to have a great report at the next session of the January 28th exercise that we have at Buckley's. By that time, we will be able to outline our timeline as to when this will happen, because it will happen.
All right, guys, we're out of time.
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for being on the panel today, Mr.
Oh, sorry,
Maynard.
one very important one, because I'm looking at my paper here. The transformation of Lagreed into a modern housing development, where the owners will actually get their certificate of titles. Recently, they were given some blank ones and told on national TV and radio that you're collecting your titles. They have not. And we will, whatever we need to do, whether it's an act of parliament or an act in cabinet, we will ensure that the transfer of the land happens, and all they have to do is pay their transfer fees.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Maynard, Miss Astafan, and sorry, your last name? Richards. Tiffany Richards. All right. Thank you so much. This has been another edition of Inside the News right here on WinFM 98.9. Thank you so much for joining the program today. For those of you who joined late, we had Mr. Conris Maynard of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party here with constituents from number 3, sharing some of the plans and programs that he has for that constituency. Until next time, you guys stay safe. Bye-bye.
Found the sound 99.